Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We're going to jump straight into speaking to Justin Oakes from DroneWorks because he's working and he's got to get on and get off back to work. But Justin, you kindly joined us to tell us all about the little issue you had with your drone being hijacked by the Russians. Now, that was surely that was just a clickbait video. That can't really happen, can
it? Ridiculous. It actually happened. Like I said in the video, I don't know how many of your viewers have actually seen it, but I had heard of these anti-drone devices, whether it be the net products or the RF products, but I didn't realize they were actually in service, particularly on like civilian, yacht. You hear a bunch of stories. We film all over the world, so you hear often about military devices that these countries have to protect their, whatever, their barrier walls, or whatever they're trying to protect. And you just, as a trying to be nice, I guess, or friendly, you never push the boundary. But this was me not filming for work. This is me on vacation with friends from work. So we took a big, it was vacation, but it was like a company trip. A bunch of our clients and friends all took the wives boat trip. I've seen Roman Abramovich's mega yacht. It's called Eclipse. I've seen it in 3 or 4 countries before this. So I've seen it all over the place. A big boat. It travels around the world, depending on the seasons. It just so happened this time I wasn't working. So I had my trusty Phantom with me, and I thought, what the hell? Let's go see what this thing looks like from above. I'd flown helicopters and helicopters, never actually flown drones. So I take off. Everything's looking great. The light was perfect. We were pulling into a port in St. Bart's for the evening, so it was right around sunset. Beautiful. I mean, you can see some of the footage in our video, but it was fun. I mean, just like a bunch of drone enthusiasts, everybody stuck to my monitor, looking over my shoulder, oohing and awing. Beautiful sunset in St. Bart's, big $1 billion yacht. Apparently, they say this 500 million to 2 billion. So seeing this thing live in person doesn't get any better. And then I lost signal. Now, keep in mind, I'm with all of my work buddies, so we kind of have a reputation. This is the top, where it doesn't get more professional. And they're all looking at me to show them a good time, and I lose the damn drone. I've never lost, let alone a Phantom. I've never crashed. I know a lot of people, their first experiences are putting into a wall or losing whatever, but I actually never have. I've never crashed anything other than testing. So this was completely foreign to me. I mean, literally black screen, just like nothing's there. Like I said in the video, I think it's a no signal or connection loss or something. No control, it's totally gone. And as you know, flying a Phantom, none of it's really line of sight. You're just flying a monitor. So without that monitor, I could see nothing. I didn't know where it was, how high. Well, I literally knew nothing. It was embarrassing as hell. I mean, all my friends are just like prodding me. Moron. My cheeks got brighter red than they are normally. This went on for minutes, and I immediately start bashing DJI. This DJI piece of crap. I can't believe this Chinese. Whatever, trying to blame myself. That's when I decided to turn it off and on. The thing's gone. What the hell? I'll just turn the transmitter off and see what happens. And when I clicked it back on, for a flash, just a second, it connected. It was black and white. It kind of cut in and out. It was pixelated, but I could see that the drone wasn't as high as it was when I was flying. I was at a couple hundred feet whenever I lost connection. It was now at ground level, just above the water, and I could see guys that did it in the open water. And so what had happened is we were on a moving boat when I took off. So we were pulling into port, traveling. We weren't stopped. So we had moved, like I said, maybe 1,000 feet or something. I'm making it up. So the drone attempted to go back and land where I took off from, which was in the middle of the water, just outside the port on the opposite side of the yacht. And I could see it. As soon as I saw them looking for it, I knew, okay, this thing's on the ground and it's next to a smaller boat. And it just so happened we were in perfect position to see it in the distance. I mean, our boat was in the perfect position, his boat was in the perfect position, and the drone was in the perfect position. So we spotted him out in the distance. You could see my buddy, my friend was standing next to me, and I told him to start recording all of this. He whipped out his cell phone and zoomed in, and you could see them. I mean, it was but you could see them trying to get it. I have no idea what the guys on the small boat had, but that's when I noticed the guy on the bow of their boat. You can see him in the video. He's standing right at the edge of the boat. He's got a black shirt, kind of figure. He was the one who was pointing the device at the drone. So as soon as I saw that, I knew I mean, it clicked immediately. Like, okay, DJI is not a piece of shit, piece of crap, and I'm not a terrible pilot. We actually have a successful security team, disabling this thing. And yeah, that was it. Basically, I started attempting to control. What I could see was, as I was moving the sticks, although I had no signal, I could see the drone moving on the horizon. So, like, again, a little white speck in the distance. And as I would command it forward or backward, it was reversed or sideways or whatever. So the controls were all backwards. But I got my bearings for a split second, and that's when I clicked it into sport mode, and I just full throttle it. And as soon as I did, fortunately for me, I wasn't oriented to hit the boat. I was oriented away from the boat, sort of luck, to be honest. But I could see it speeding away, and then you could see the speedboat like full throttle. I mean, it was awesome. Like, it looked like a wakeboarding boat or something chasing this thing. And then it was, of course, very obvious that these guys were trying to get it, and the guy on the deck was part of all the other boat, control where to go. Unfortunately for those guys, I'm a really good pilot. So as soon as I got my bearings, it wasn't very hard for me to get away. I still didn't have any sort of signal or know what my orientation, but I have enough experience flying those things line of sight that I was able to get it together. I brought it in. My wife was with me, and she actually like hand caught the boat. At this point now, we were on a big boat ourselves, a yacht, and the captain and his security team and everybody came out, and it was a whole show. I mean, there were like 20 people standing behind me. I didn't show it in the video, but we got into a little bit of a screaming match with the Russian guys. I mean, they came right up to our boat. They chased it all the way in. And I was on the deck of our boat, which is maybe like 3 stories. We're 30 feet in the air, so they couldn't really whatever. But yeah, we screamed at each other a little bit. And that was it. I went to my cabin immediately. The captain on our boat said they're going to call the police and all this. And I said, hell yeah, bring the police. I would love to talk to the police about this. This would be great. But the first thing I did is pull the card, download the footage, back it up, put it back in. So yeah, I got the media literally straight from my cabin, and I said, bring them, let's bring it all on board. Let's go. Let's make a weird situation even weirder. Nothing happened, of course. We went to shore that night and partied, and we thought, what if we run into these guys or something in the same parts of the port? But no big deal after we got it back.
Wow.
There is one thing I left out of the story. One of the guys that's with us, I won't say his name, but he's a big news guy. He's a big news guy, and he said, like, this is an international news story. Like, if you like promote this the right way, or you like share it, keep in mind we're just friends hanging out on vacation. I'm not really social, whatever. But he said, like, this is a story. You should do something. That was in December. That was a Christmas trip. So it's taken us now March 20th, almost 4 months for us to actually like put it together. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it would be a big deal or really that noteworthy. Until I found out that a lot of my friends that were on the boat with me had been telling this story at like parties and stuff. Like, everybody finds it so interesting that Roman Abramovich's security detail attempted to steal our drone and came up to our boat, and all of this stuff is crazy. So that's what I imagined, like, people might find it interesting. And yeah, we put it on YouTube, and my buddy Casey shared it on Twitter or whatever, followers. Casey Neistat was with us on the boat, along with his wife. So yeah, I mean, I guess it picked up a little bit of traction. Our YouTube channel is really just for play. We just started it a month ago, but it got like 20,000 more than our other 28,000. I guess people sort of like it.
Well, yeah. I wonder. You confidently say they were trying to steal it. Why didn't they try and crash it? I don't understand. Why would they want to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think it matters. I think they would have crashed it or stolen it. They wanted to get it out of the sky because they didn't want me to get the footage. The reason it didn't crash into the water is, as you guys probably are aware, the Phantom has proximity sensors for auto landing. So if it does a return to home, it will actually scan. It was a Phantom 4 Pro Plus, so it has proximity sensors straight down. There's something, but it won't auto land on water. It'll basically go down to the water since there's water, and it'll just hover there. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. They just were unable to get it out of the sky before I was able to change the aircraft. So yeah, I mean, clearly, it's kind of a funny title. The Russians try to steal our drone or whatever. I don't think they cared about $1,000 Phantom. They just didn't want somebody sharing his footage. And it was Christmas, so I'm sure he was on board, or God knows what celebrity or government. You know, like he travels with. Anybody looks up Roman Abramovich, you'll see he's Putin's closest friends. You know,
Yeah.
oligarch.
Guys, have you got Bruce or Louis? Have you got any questions? This is such an intriguing story.
No, it's not. I believe it's not intriguing. These weapons that jam our drones, especially if you go for DJI, which the easy target for these weapons. So anyone can build one of these. There are lots of so-called companies that are producing and selling these at outrageous prices, when most of them has just a simple Raspberry Pi and a LoRa radio that jams this, or a Wi-Fi modified Wi-Fi that jams this and picks up the signal and introduces something on the signal that induces the behavior that Justin was saying. I believe he was more afraid of the secrets of for the season of Chelsea Football Club than from the drone.
Yeah, we didn't share all the footage because it would be boring and whatever, but you can see them on deck preparing and getting in the boat. You could see all this stuff happening, and you could tell this wasn't their first time to do this. I'm sure that boat encounters drones often. I mean, it travels to some of those places where there are a lot of wealthy people. So I'm sure this was not crazy.
No, I believe also this is part of the war that celebrities face with paparazzi. So I would say this is expected. You see a drone, you don't see its ID, you just shoot it down as best as you can. Lucky you that you didn't have skeet shooting on the bow. So otherwise,
he would have had a much harder time with the podcast. That's another thing that should be mentioned here. I don't know if I went in enough detail in the video, but we were never close to this boat. I mean, I never once flew over the boat. I never flew closer than, I think I say in the video, 50 to 75 feet or something. But I mean, I have the footage. You can see I'm very far away. So they had an automated system that could clearly pick up motion. I mean, no way they could have just seen it with the naked eye. But yeah, like you said, it's not like extreme technological challenge, particularly DJI, very. And actually, to take it one step further, we didn't talk about this because they emailed us afterward, but the company who made the device for the ship reached out to us. They sent us an email, and they're sending us a primer on how their system works, the way the system works, the reason that it failed, all this stuff. So they've been really cool. I thought that would be some sort of disclosure thing, but they're sending us a bunch of details.
All right, then. Well, maybe you could say, was it Drone Shield?
No, it's a company called Black Sage.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know that one.
So I've been told, I don't know anything about them. They reached out. They were really cool, which is shocking. I would expect something like this. They've been very, very quiet, but they basically said, we saw you encounter one of our devices. Would you like to learn more about security and safety? They're sending us something they refer to as a primer. Devices work and used in law enforcement, military.
Well, it raises you're right. I don't know if you can bring your microphone a little bit closer, I think, Justin, because you're a bit broken. But well, it raises an interesting question, doesn't it? I mean, if you were a bit closer to land and they'd intercepted your machine and had downed it over, well, even over your boat or over somebody in a small town now, who's held responsible for that? What right? I mean, you weren't in international waters, were you?
No,
not exactly. I know I said that in the video, but clearly we were in a port. That area of the world we've worked in a lot for commercial purposes. It's very easy. The governments are very supportive of drone-based aerial cinematography. But in this case, you've got a very wealthy guy who has
Oh, your microphone's on and off now. I don't know why, Justin.
Just to compliment. Until 12 miles, it's not international waters, and let's just say they have 2 helipads, so we can roughly consider they should have an exclusion zone for the helipads. It's natural, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Unfortunately, that area was devastated by the hurricane system. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, better, much better.
So great. So that entire area was hit very, very hard by the hurricane problem, and they were still at the time under rules that are unusual for the airspace. Now, I'm no airspace expert for that area. I was on vacation, hobbyist, but we never flew higher than 100 feet, maybe. I mean, nowhere within manned aircraft airspace. But even so, the heliports, the air traffic control system there were all shut down. We actually did charter a helicopter on that trip too. That's how I learned all this stuff. You had.
I was mentioning that the boat itself, the ship itself, has 2 helipads. So let's consider that.
I follow what you're saying. Yeah, and they actually took off and landed a few times while we were there. But I mean, again, you can hear and see, and there's a significant warning before a Eurocopter takes off. It's not something where it just pops up. I've flown with manned aircraft extensively for work. Again, I was flying as a hobbyist, just for fun with my friends. But as far as practical risk, there was effectively none. Again, I never flew anywhere near helicopters, never flew anywhere really near the boat. You consider hundreds of feet. I mean, our boat got closer to their boat than
I believe you were caught somewhere in between the paparazzi war.
Sure, probably. Well,
most likely.
If you put yourself in his shoes. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think if you put yourself in his shoes for a moment, if the positions were flipped, I would have done the exact same. So I don't think he did anything wrong or unusual. I think that, as the technology becomes more accessible, as you said, it's not necessarily extraordinary. It's just the first time I ever encountered it or anything like that. None of my friends have encountered it. I know most aerial cinematography business work in that part of the world. I've never heard or seen this happening before. I'm not sure it hasn't, or I'm sure it has happened. Just my first time.
Yeah, I know the aviation authorities have been doing some tests with a couple of manufacturers and those kinds of systems, but that is to protect airports. So I don't know.
I think in Portsmouth, there are some quite sophisticated systems now, and they recently stopped quite a few people flying over the new aircraft carrier that the Royal Navy has there. That was very interesting. I'm just reaching out to Mr. Simpson. I'm not entirely sure that he's still there. I think he's frozen video, and also must welcome Shane Roberts.
No, it's not frozen.
Is it not frozen? It's frozen for me. It's dreadful connection.
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not moving. Oh, there's no change there, then, really, is it?
No. They're pretty simple. Yeah, they're pretty simple, these shoot down a drone things. All you've got to do is produce enough noise that the actual signal, the legitimate signal, disappears into that noise, and the drone effectively says, well, no signal, I'm returning to home. So it's pretty simple to do that. You could just get yourself a Wi-Fi transmitter and one of these 2 or 8 watt power boosters you can buy on eBay for $50 and put it into a Yagi aerial, point it at the drone of your choice, and there it goes. It's like, as Louis said, it's a very cheap and simple thing to do. But of course, these manufacturers get together and putting them in fancy, enclosures and saying this is a fantastic state-of-the-art device. But the real thing is, I think widely around the world it's been accepted that unmanned aircraft are aircraft. And if you interfere with an aircraft, there are some really severe penalties. So if you are disabling an aircraft, it's no different to actually taking pot shots at it with a gun. It leaves the person who's operating one of these devices exposed to quite significant risk of prosecution. And then you've got people like the radio spectrum people. You're transmitting illegally on an ISM band, because when you transmit on an ISM band, you undertake not to interfere with other users of those services. So by deliberately setting out to interfere with a legitimate user of the 2.4 or 5.8 gig spectrum, you are breaching the regulations of just about every country in the world that says you may not do that. So yeah, in theory, you could prosecute the snot out of those people, and they've got no leg to stand on.
Yeah, exactly, Bruce. Exactly. Yeah, you have 2 things. One, and the most grievous one, is the radio spectrum one. And usually authorities are very, keen on going after any interference with radio spectrum.
Yeah, it's a real can of worms, isn't it? And one wonders how people are getting away with it. I mean, you might have been firing that wide ISM jamming thing straight at a hospital on the mainland for a frivolous example. You know, I mean, there's all manner of things you could have been interfering with downwind, as it were. So yeah, it's very. What right did they have to do that? And it sounds like, from what you're saying, Justin, that it was a very practiced thing. Yeah, maybe they had done it before and had a procedure. Would have been. Yeah. Would you have dared send another one over there to see if you could have, you know, see
absolutely,
if you could
yeah. And I will. I'm excited. I'll see that boat again in May or June, and yeah, we're gonna do another video. It is this time, and not with a DJI product.
No, Justin. There's a simple way. Just send a swarm of DJI drones. They cannot shoot them all.
Overwhelm. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I guess you're right.
It would be a very interesting experiment. I'm not sure I could afford the legal fees of whatever might happen afterwards, or would want to be greeting so many burly Russian gentlemen. But you know, yeah, it would be a tricky one. It'd be an interesting one to have Mr. Neistat out on. That would get some attention.
Just wait till I get the nerve agent out, eh? Then you got to worry.
The new what?
Wait till I get the nerve agent out on you. Then you're stuffed.
No, just paint the flag of Chelsea Football Club, and you're okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, I know. What a story. And yeah, down here it wouldn't. Yeah. You get them for. I asked that question to one of the manufacturers at Farnborough a couple of years ago, because he had buttons at 5.8, 2.4, I think 35 and 72 megs was even on there. And I asked that very question of the manufacturer: are you allowed to flick a switch, you know, and just jam completely? And also GPS as well. That was the other thing that they were jamming.
I think what's actually noteworthy about this isn't necessarily the RF challenge. You know, exactly what Bruce and Lewis are saying. You know, it's not difficult to disrupt a radio control. I think what's really neat, and why I'm interested in talking about this company Blackstage, to identify them. Again, we were nowhere near this thing, and you guys know, I'm sure, from flying small drones like a little Phantom. Once it gets out to a few hundred feet, you can't see it unless you're absolutely, you know where it is, or you're looking for it carefully. So what they're using, that I think quite sophisticated, is this whole track and identify system. So these are automated. They actually have samples of it online you can see. So that to me is the neatest part. They have some sort of optical or laser based spatial awareness around the code. And I'm sure the drone deterrent system is the simplest of the system.
What you can do is listen on the light bridge frequencies and wait till you hear something, and then analyze the packets and say it's a Phantom drone, and then you know it's there. And of course that's broadcasting from your drone at all times, so you can just use a signal strength to work out how close it is. It's a really simple thing to do. Of course, if you're selling something, you make it sound like it's magic and done with mirrors and smoke and special pieces of string, but in reality it's pretty basic stuff.
They've done a really good job of creating that, because even for me, who has just a peripheral knowledge of stuff, less than clearly years, it's fascinating and interesting. If you see what they've created, whether or not it's very simple and repeatable by someone or obvious, they do a damn good job of packaging it into a system that looks like it's worth $100,000. I'm sure that's what they're getting.
I happened to speak to him at Farnborough as well, and I've just put a link to the video. That's handy, isn't it? How handy. I actually spoke to them at Farnborough and had a tour of their gear there as well. So if I'd known it was backstage before we started, we could have got them on as well. So that's very cool.
Yeah, well, I'll give you his.
Yeah, and Osby Drones saying Kevin F has released an open source alternative to Aeroscope. Well, we actually know Oh, I shouldn't have started saying that. We actually know a few more things about Aeroscope as well. But anyway, that's another thing. Yeah, Aeroscope is completely balked. There's no that's the DJI one. There's no point in going down that route at all. But yeah, Kevin F and various other people, and of course we're living in now in the world of the Facebook revelations, data sharing revelations. Who knows what drone companies might be sharing inadvertently back to their HQs. But anyway, let's just park that for a little bit. But that was good. Go on.
If you want to do one of these tracking systems, you have an open source alternative. You just build an antenna tracker running Ardu tracker.
Yeah, well, it's not it's yeah, technically it's not a hard thing. The military have been doing it on all manner of things. I'll give you a silly story. We cheated in an exercise many years ago by listening out for, and all we were doing was listening to the radio noises of HMS boats, and in fact in this case, funny enough, Spanish boats. So you'll be pleased with this. Spanish boats in the Bay of Biscay. And we'd identified them just from their radio chatter and radio noise of all the systems on board the thing before we'd left the UK. And the exercise was starting in an hour or two's time. We may have got airborne a little bit early before they switched everything off. It may have been cheating, you know, it may have been cheating. But yeah, there's enough noise, just electrical noise from stuff, electrical stuff, for you to identify it. Once you have footprint, you know, this house, everyone's house that we're sat in has an electrical footprint that can be seen. I mean, Bruce, you'll know far more about this. I'll let you start ranting now. Oh, and Kevin's here in the questions. G'day, Kevin.
Me rant? Never. Doesn't happen. No. Yeah, you're right. It's so much information. I mean, the Phantom is a good example. It's broadcasting everything. Everything that you see, someone else can see as well. And so it's, in fact, there's hijacking code as well. You can actually hijack the link, and so instead of just relying on it returning to home, you can actually take over if you've got a stronger RF signal and direct it to where you want it to go. So in that respect, these anti-drone things are really quite primitive, because all they're trying to do, most of them, is simply overload the receiver and force a signal loss response from the drone. But if they're smarter, they would either spoof the GPS, or they would basically transmit another viable link that's stronger than the original one and be able to land it on the deck of their boat. But you know, it's easy to get carried away with the awe and mystique of these fantastic devices, but most of them are really simple and rather crude. So when someone comes up with a better one, hopefully they'll sell them in these crude shotgun, because nothing brings down a drone like a couple of rounds of double aught buckshot. I mean, let's keep it simple.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this doesn't immediately make me think of laser pointers as well, back to the, you know, interfering with aircraft sort of side of things. It's just like pointing a laser at a pilot, as it were.
But now I imagine, how many drones does Mr. Abramovich has on his yacht? Because if he goes after every drone that overflies them, I'm sure that he'll have a nice collection.
It's going to be
this
funny
device
to
pays
see
for
what
itself.
happens. Yeah, I mean, it'll be funny. Like I said, I encounter the boat a lot, so it'll be neat to see what happens next time. I mean, it might be as simple as I take off and they intercept it immediately and whatever. I have a bunch of them, so I'll bring a couple of smaller quads just to see. I'm just really curious. Like you said, does he literally get every single one? I don't know.
You need to change to a drone that's got Crossfire as your control link, which is 900 megahertz or 868.
Yeah,
868.
It's not really noteworthy if he doesn't intercept. I kind of want to see them get it again and film it with a proper camera. I don't know. We'll see. We'll do both. I literally saw the boat, I think, 4 times in 4 different last year. So, and I expect to see it several more times this year. So we'll have multiple shots. We're not doing anything nefarious. Again, we're not flying over it. I'm not going to share any personal footage or anything that you can't get from a cell phone driving next to the boat. I have no malicious intent. I do find it fascinating, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, unless you guys have some tips, what do you think we should do? And maybe there's some...
get yourself a full-size helicopter. Go and hire a helicopter and hover over his boat and see what he does about that.
I did that. I actually did that. I have some footage. I flew right over it in a big helicopter. See, he did it. That's fine. You can fly right over. See if I can show you guys. But he was fine. I flew right over it and I hung out the window.
That's interesting. In the comments, Osby Drone saying at RPAS and Australian Skies, there was a demo of Cape controlling a drone, not sure what Cape means, from Canberra that was flying in Mexico. During a demo, someone pointed the green laser at the drone camera a few times. So yeah, I know that is becoming a bit of an issue as well. I wonder if that's one of the Ardu demos doing that. We'll have to get you on, Osby Drone. We'll have to get you on so you can explain that a little bit more to us. We should see if Shane is there. Are you there, Shane? While we're
I am here. I've been patiently listening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
all
right? I'm sorry. I've been very rude.
Oh, it's okay. It was all interesting. That's not a big topic of conversation for us at the stage that we're in. You know, we're worried about more engineering and mechanical problems and electrical problems and communication problems. We haven't actually had people trying to shut us down very much yet. So,
what exactly do you do?
Say again.
What do you do, Shane? I'm not familiar with.
We started manufacturing a platform, or I guess designing a platform, about 2 years ago now, and it actually kind of spawned from. Well, I was doing work for Google as a provider of like machine parts. I was like a vendor for them, and I was working with Project Loon some, which is in Google X, and we were kind of like around where we were exposed to the Wing project, you know, and that was like 2 or 2.5 years ago when they were still kind of doing like the tail sitters, and then they transitioned to the planes with the actual 4, you know, like a quad plane. They were kind of messing around with that, and we were talking about it and looking at the aircraft, and it was like they were fully electric, and they were kind of like housing their batteries in the booms of the aircraft, and they were talking about the range, and it was like, yeah, you know, we can go like 40 miles. And we were like, 40 miles? Like, what? That's not very far, you know? It's a lot of effort to put into something to where you've got a vertical takeoff system and an airplane and all this stuff. And you kind of look at their forward flight motors, and they're kind of small. And we just were looking at it like, well, I think we could do a better job. And I think at that point they'd spent like $50 million on the program at Wing. So it kind of became like a joke for us to as a small kind of entity, see what we could do on our own. And we were kicking that back and forth, me and Ryan Pope that works with me. And we were like, well, definitely it should be gasoline, you know, because the energy density of gasoline is like dramatically higher, you know, for the forward flight portion, of course, not the vertical takeoff. And then we had these electric skateboards, and I was riding this skateboard one day and thinking about this, and you know, it bragged about the regenerative braking on the skateboard, you know, and it was just so seamless. You got this like roller wheel in your hand, and you can be like, oh, I want to use power. No, I want to, you know, charge. No, I want power. No, I want to charge, you know. And I was like, man, if I had the electronic speed controller out of this skateboard, and I kind of coupled that to a gasoline engine, then I'd have a pretty, yeah, same thing, boosted. That's what I got.
Yeah.
So, and they were real torquey too, those motors, you know. I was like, I bet that motor has enough torque to just straight up start a gas engine, you know, if it was just in line. So we started doing research, and I built some test benches and got some remote control car ESCs to start with, which kind of got us off the ground, and got something working pretty good on a test bench where I could like start a gas engine and then, you know, pull power from it. And then I ended up having to write some software to mediate all that pretty well. And that's went through several different versions, and we were kind of prototyping airframes, you know, and it took us about a year before we were flying with, you know, the first hybrid electric kind of prototype. And then we've spent another year since that developing what is now, I guess we kind of like publicly launched it, I guess, today, thanks to you guys. So that's what I do.
And it's let's just blow the man with the multi-rotors over there and bothering Russians with your endurance of your machine.
Oh yeah, we get we took it to Black Rock, and I think we had somewhere around a 20-mile-an-hour, you know, crosswind across the pattern we were flying. We were flying a pretty big circle, but it still ends up kind of being in a slight bank the whole time. And we did 5 hours and 2 minutes on 1 gallon there, somewhere around 55-mile-an-hour cruise speed, and that's like not calm, you know. That's like it's fighting a little on the upwind, and there was some thermal activity that was kind of like pushing it down in parts of the circle, and you could see it trying to climb. So I mean, I think you can almost, you know, very safely say in poor conditions over 4 hours, you know, and it may be in optimal conditions in like a straight line, you know, probably up at 5.5 we're not fuel injection right now. We're trying to keep everything cost effective. So it's a carbureted engine. It's a Zenoa engine. We do some machine work to the engine, and we build components for the engine, and then couple a motor to it, like integrate it into the engine effectively, and then we build the ECU, and then the whole airframe and everything else we kind of came up with as well. So.
And so you're convinced it's well, how much will it lift then at its 4 hours or 5 hours endurance?
Probably our payload's pretty light, and there's going to be some trade-offs. Probably like 2 pound payload if you want to fly for a while, but you can obviously trade endurance for payload because you're just lugging around gasoline. But we think we've got there's probably 2 pounds that can kind of be removed from the airframe as it gets more optimized. Like right now, there's a lot of machine parts that are quite a bit heavier than the carbon, and we can kind of get around some things. We're going to change some of the designs of the fuel tanks. Some of the stuff is overbuilt. Like we crashed one aircraft, or I crashed one aircraft here due to some compass anomalies and some poor piloting. And we've got this like wing center section. The wing breaks into 3 pieces. So we have like the center of the wing with the booms, and the wingtips come out or go in. That way you can transport it. It's hard to move something with a 9-foot wingspan. So you basically have a 3-foot center that's real beefy. And I put that thing right on the tips between sawhorses. And I mean, we were jumping up and down on it in the shop trying to break it, right in the center. And we can't break it. It's still sitting down there. I mean, it crashed at 70 miles an hour and destroyed a fence. And I have this wing, and I'm trying to break the wing afterwards. And it's just like, so we've got more strength than we need, I guess is what I'm saying. There's more weight can come out.
More weight can go. Yeah, well, and fair play to you. 1 million points for admitting a crash. I hate things when people come and say, we have developed this thing and it's perfect, and there's no backstory of any trials or tribulations getting there, because it's like, no, it's not perfect out the block.
Man, I got a pile of stators for motors down here that I smoked. I mean, there's so many things. Trying to get a gas engine and an electric engine to behave well together is not a small task. You'll see a lot of smoke and fire in the process of that.
Gary, can you explain crash? Can you explain what you mean? I'm not familiar with this term.
It's
yeah, I don't know. I got a great video of it actually.
It's this controlled descent to the ground.
Yeah, controlled descent.
Yes.
Yeah, sudden gust of gravity.
Really nice. It was a really nice, calm, like 10 degree or so descent with no control by the pilot. So. Oh, wow.
No, 1 million points. People don't.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, Gary. And this power plant, will it be only used for planes, or are you planning to go to other vehicles?
The thing that we're doing, I've seen some of the stuff that's happening where they're flying quads off of a gas generator effectively.
Yeah, because I'm remembering some guys in Spain that the drone that flies also an hybrid. Yeah, hybrids.
Yeah, there's those guys, and somebody else just came out with one, Pegasus, I think. Looks like they have a really nice power. Yeah, it looks great. They're probably ahead of us on like the efficiency that they're drawing electricity from the system. But from my knowledge of the electrical engineering side, like anytime you convert mechanical, like rotational energy into, electricity, whether you're going to store it in a battery or what, you lose like 15% in that conversion, even if you're doing a pretty amazing job. So our forward propulsion propeller is directly mounted to the gas engine. So there is no energy loss between like the engine and the propeller. We don't want to convert energy from gas into electricity and then store it in batteries any more than we have to. So the idea is that, 99% of the time the plane is flying on its forward propulsion engine. It's on the propeller, and it takes something like 12 minutes for it to recharge from a takeoff right now. So for the first 12 minutes, the engine's a little dogged down. It flies for like a minute, and then the charging kind of like comes on and you're a little low on power. It has some things where if you give it like 100% throttle, it'll override charging almost completely in case you need to like climb or something. But basically when you're up there and you're cruising around, for the first 12 minutes, the engine is using quite a bit more fuel. to charge, and then after that, the charging kind of rolls off, and then it runs pretty efficiently like it's tuned to. But I guess just there's a really long answer to what you just said, but I don't want to convert energy from mechanical energy into electrical energy if I don't have to. You know, I want to push the plane along, you know, with a propeller attached directly to a gas engine, which I think is going to be pretty hard to beat the efficiency of that, you know, from turning gas into thrust. I think it's hard to beat.
Yes, it is. That's why I was asking if you could try were envisioning of putting that same power plant on other vehicles that won't be applicable to anything else but planes.
For now, yeah. For now, I think we're trying to build an aircraft, and the next stages. Most of the plane is waterproof right now. The wingtips are lagging behind on that. So the next thing we're wanting to do is kind of get it flying in pretty heavy rain, because there's not a lot of people doing that. And then the thing after that is kind of a modular payload system where the whole front of the plane's pretty modular right now, but we'd really like to have something that you can kind of like hook in there where a person can mount a gimbal, or they can mount a sensor, or they can mount this or that without even messing with like much of the aircraft, you know, kind of like you've got 3 or 4 different cameras maybe you want to run, and you can swap them out. So that's most of the development focus is I guess there right now.
It's you're playing in quite a busy marketplace now, I suppose. Your power regeneration then that's your USP, I guess, in the VTOL market.
I don't know. I think that, and I think I know what you mean by USP, but I don't know what that the actual definition of that is. What is it?
Well, unique selling point amongst
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to hit several things. So, you know, we're never charging batteries on the plane right now. Like you can literally kind of show up with this thing and like take it out of the car, and we've actually integrated our on-off switch into the pitot tube. So you like grab a hold of the pitot tube and pull it, and it like connects the batteries inside the plane, and then you're powered up. And then if we take it a step further, you know, right now we've got a ground station and we fly from there, but you take that a step further and you go to LTE or you go to Iridium. It's like you could literally plop the thing out and pull the nose switch out and put your wingtips on, and like somebody else could take over control until it lands somewhere else. And then when it lands, it's literally like you have a gas can. You need like gasoline, and it's pretty tolerant even on the kind of gasoline it'll run off of because the engine's not very high strung. So we were trying to provide something that was just that was simple, you know, for everybody to use.
What about vibration? Vibration from internal combustion engines can play havoc with a lot of payloads, especially sensitive instrumentation payloads. How have you addressed the issue of vibration? Because those Zonara engines, they're not the smoothest running engines in the world.
I could give you you want me to carry this computer around and give you guys like a tour? I don't actually have aircraft. I don't have full aircraft here, but I can kind of show you some things. I live in the top of a machine shop that I started when I was like 22. So this is my dog Lewis. He's pretty cool.
Dane, this looks like a battle.
You still seeing? Is this working?
Yeah.
Are we
still working? Yeah, we don't want
someone right now.
Yeah, we don't want someone to come out and grab it.
I think I might have lost something in the way of sound when I unplugged.
Okay.
That's sad. Let me see what I can get back here.
No, you're okay. Still okay.
We
show
can
us the bat cave.
Show us the bat cave.
Oh, he's gone. Damn it.
Something did come and grab him. Something come and grabbed him.
There you go.
He's back. He's coming.
Great.
Back
Is that
yeah,
good?
we're still here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you see okay?
Yeah.
All right. So this is where I live. We're full of machining centers. These are the guys working at the shop. We got this one torn down right now. So our whole business is based out of like a machine shop. We make a bunch of different kinds of aerospace parts. This is actually a fuel pump for an F-18. So we actually make some pretty unique stuff here. I mean, it's just the housing of it, but we do the final machining and stuff for things like that. We have kind of a bunch of different projects and stuff going on. And this spooled out of this is like a 20% kind of fun thing, you know, and then now I care way more about the planes than I do anything else. But this is one on a test bench that's coming together right now. Can you kind of, I don't know, maybe the lighting's not good.
It's okay.
But basically, we have tons of O-rings everywhere. The whole engine is mounted. The whole engine is mounted to a bunch of O-rings. So it's really pretty loosely mounted. And then there's also a bunch of O-ring isolation between the actual tank. It's all suspended in O-rings to the wing center section. Here's my crashed plane right here. If I can get it out. But the wing, I don't know if you can see, there's O-rings there too. See that? So like all the connection points between the fuselage and the fuel tank, which is also the engine mount, is just on like extreme vibration isolation, basically. But I guess I can get back up there where I can hear people. But
so how many aircraft have you designed? Are you well, can you hear me? I don't know. Can you hear me, Shane?
Well, yeah, I can. We did.
Are you a seasoned aero modeler? Have you been flying model aircraft since you were 10 or something? Or is it
kind of actually? In fact, Ryan and I both have. Although on the start of this, I mean, I remember I built like, from scratch balsa monocoat stuff when I was a kid. And even some of the things where, did you see the rubber band stuff where you wind up the rubber bands? Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, you wind up the rubber bands on the planes and they're covered in the tissue paper.
Oh, yeah.
I had a guy building the tissue paper covered airplanes there for a little bit too. And Ryan's got a bunch of experience too. I don't know if you can link him on here or not. He could talk more. In fact, he sent me a text that something I missed. But
well, you can send him a link if you want, and then he's very welcome to join us.
My link, but I don't know what the deal is. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, yeah, we both had a lot of background in it. We both have, and my dad was an airplane pilot, and Ryan's a helicopter pilot, and so we were just kind of around aviation. But as far as designing a plane from scratch, this was really the first. I mean, the one that is we built two, really, from scratch. So we built the one, we built, and the funny thing was we tried to prototype it. We didn't think it was really going to work that good. And then it flew for like 4 hours and we were like, holy shit, this is like dirty. And like we had stuff taped all over it and the wires were all open. And it was like, maybe we should this is like a thing, So then I went back and it was like 6 months, to get from like a rough prototype to something that was actually pretty nice. I mean, we're machining like the molds here and all of that. And so we machine all the molds out of aluminum, and then there's a quirk where Ryan's actually based out of Idaho and I'm based out of Tennessee. So it's like I build all the machine parts and put everything together and ship it to him, and then he lays all the carbon up and everything. And we're both working basically out of our well, this is a shop that I live in, and he's got a pretty good sized shop at his house too. So that's how it's working. But
fair play. I'm very impressed. Bruce, have you got any other thoughts?
No, it all looks good. I wish I had a place like that.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was really
hard to have a girlfriend, I'll tell you that. I don't know if you're married or not, but
I can't really pick up my computer to turn it around, but I don't know if you guys are aware, but we actually make our aircraft here too. So we have full machine shop. We build everything from scratch, all our carbon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we built. Yeah. What was that, Shane?
I said that was awesome, but then somebody else.
Cool. Yeah, I can't really turn it around, but yeah, it's pretty wild. Actually, our engineer Stratton is over there working on something new. We have a project. You guys will definitely see it. Biggest thing we've ever made. Much bigger than but no long duration. We go for very, very high flying.
Okay.
Did you say very high flying? Did you say then?
High payload.
High payload. So not 33,000 feet like that fellow's video has been doing the rounds today. No.
We could do that if we found a government to approve. We don't do anything for free. We haven't had a client ask us that 30.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's I'm actually kind of bummed out I can't turn this computer around. There's a lot of cool stuff on the table. Similar to what you
What's the coolest project we might have heard of then?
Well, I mean, most people are familiar with us because of the work we've done with Samsung, the KC, the big human flying drone. But we've also built a lot of stuff that we can't share or that you haven't seen for industrial clients. Very, very large aircraft that carry very, very large sensors. Right now we're building something incredibly I can't share too much, but it's more than 20 feet in diameter, so it's a huge, huge machine. It's a very, very expensive, incredible thing. We're building 2 of them. So anyway, you'll see in a few months.
That's cool.
Well, you're very welcome to come back and share the love with us.
Yeah. We get a lot of strange requests through email, but I was happy to see you guys invited us. I'm familiar with you, Gary, and Bruce. I didn't say anything before, but I'm a big fan of the channel. Probably. So yeah, no, I'm always interested in participating and helping the drone community as much as I can. We don't get to share very much of what we do at DroneWorks, because of the nature of our clients, but usually we can further down the road. So we were just able to share this stuff with KC months ago. We shot that over a year ago. Yeah. We also build not just flying machines too, cars and cable cam systems. We built the VR system for the NFL here in the United States, their cable cam. So we do a lot of really weird.
The NFL thing, that's rugby for girls, isn't it? That's all. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've seen
the big animals that run around.
Gary, we need a new feature: Man Cave of the Week.
I was just thinking that I need to get a load of boxes and just put a tape recorder in them and make them buzzing noises and things like that. Because I am 0 points. I know Louis got a new helicopter in the background. That's cool, but other than that, I bring nothing to the party.
It's just 700 Ellie. So let's see how it behaves doing autonomous flight under autopilot.
Yeah, they fly great. I grew up flying those big single. So
surprised you're not using more, or they're not used in more products or projects, I should say. I don't know about a few other guys, but the audio and everything, the video and everything is pretty terrible tonight. So I think we should probably wrap this earlier than normal. But I'm super impressed with what I've seen, Shane, and I think yes. So actually, then Bruce, can we? Actually, can we? I don't know if we can declare in the man cave winner because, of course, Justin can't turn his machine around. So we, Have you no mirrors? No mirrors in there. Maybe he's not allowed mirrors in there. Maybe. Anyway,
no mirrors or cell phones.
Yeah, there you go. So
I know. It's Mr. Abramovich that doesn't let him turn around his computer.
Yeah, right.
No, so Shane is the current winner of Workspace of the Year, decade, whatever, until just.
We can have a rematch. Yeah, we can have a rematch with this whenever he gets a mobile camera.
Yeah, how do you do that? Can you do this Google? I've never done this Hangout.
I have a laptop.
Well, so next time I got to do it. Yeah, that's easy solution.
Or your cell phone. Your cell phone's the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's many ways are available. Look, before we go, what we normally do is, and Shane, I haven't thanked you enough, and I need to think.
Thank you.
I've found many more questions for you, and we definitely I've got to have you back and have an aeroplane in the room. I'm very interested that you've decided to move in that space, and I see that man from Del Monte or Uncle or Intel, the man from Intel wants to speak to you at AUVSI. He's mentioned that in the comments. So that's a good thing. Even though he's a dodgy fellow, I wouldn't speak to him, but that's another thing altogether. So yeah, very interesting, and I'd like to unpack more about the space that you plan on working in, or how you're going to plan and compete. Anyway, I'm already ranting. So maybe actually we could have an aeroplane reveal at some stage. So that rant's gone very badly.
Speaking on that, I have an idea for a rant. What
Okay.
would happen to Intel in the middle of one of those shows if they fly over Mr. Abramovich's yacht?
Very good question.
Mm.
Will
Well,
we
and
see 1,200 drones crashing? They'll need a lot of boats to get them.
yeah, I would love to see the policy on the boat. The operational order. Drone gets there. We did. What do they do? What was the chain of command that it went through? Then they detected it. So all right, does somebody have to get it visual? Then they get the gun out. Then they start getting the boat out. I mean, what was the order? I mean, that'd be very interesting.
How many boats do they have to get drones?
A lot. I mean, they got a whole armada.
Wow.
But one thing that comes to mind, I know we're wrapping up, but I do have one that later when I see him is what happens if you take off from land? If I would have taken off from land, say on the coast, I was in the port, which is 1,000 feet out, and the drone returns to land or to land, would they still pursue it? I think, Gary, to your question, were they trying to steal it or just get it away from the boat? I think boat, but I'd be curious to see, will they pursue it on the I don't think so, but
and it is that thorny. It's the very big thorny question of it's an aircraft, as Bruce alluded to earlier, and if they do that, and if they hijack it, then there's all manner of legal issues involved. From my balloon flying days, people used to want farmers to snatch their balloons at the end of the season because the farmer in the UK would have a care of duty over it, so they had to put it in a barn all winter for you. So people wanted that to happen, and people did make insurance claims against people who did that. So yeah, if it's an aircraft, it's all manner of rules. And as Bruce has said, the poor old pilot's out of the loop for responsibility. Pity we haven't got the insurers I spoke to the other day. I see your microphone's unmuted there, Bruce. Go ahead, over.
Yeah, look, just load the SD card with kiddie porn, wait for them to recover it, and call the cops.
My goodness. Bruce is not invited on any of these trips.
Well, Bruce is not invited on many trips, is he? On many things. That's pretty standard. And of course, you were out there in the water facing Bruce's arch nemesis, the seagull, which there must have been plenty of there. You had
not so bad. Where, did you see some on film? The only place I've run into seagull problems is France. Sure.
Oh, French seagulls to boot. I mean,
that's bad. South of France, I've got some amazing footage of seagull attacks on our drones. They never hit one, which is knock on wood. But yeah, in the south of France, that whole region, those seagulls are so aggressive. It's the biggest threat that we have. We work the Film Festival every year, and every year the biggest threat for the insurers and everybody and the local mayor and all that is seagulls. So.
Well, Bruce has an excellent video that they put out about, somebody chucked a seagull at a helicopter, which was very unsporting. And he had a fantastic rant about that. I thought your bit, I don't know, I haven't asked you to do this or prompted you, but I thought your bit about density of water mass, and I was very sensible. I don't know if you could repeat that bit, if I can dare tempt you to do that.
No, just pointing out that people consider water to be soft, but it's not. It has a high mass. So when you hit it at speed, it doesn't move out of the way very quickly. And therefore, a seagull is likely to be as damaging to the rotor blades of a helicopter as a Phantom 4 would be, made out of frangible plastic. So yeah, it's a pretty good analogy for what would happen if a drone hit a rotor blade.
And they chucked one at an R-22, and the R-22 didn't explode.
No, it just flew away.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a precedent for this. I'm sure you guys are. I hope you saw the military aircraft that was struck in the United States by Phantom. I mean, that was a built military machine. Still nothing happened.
Yeah, it bounced off it, didn't it? And it opens up the data issue as well. But anyway, that's another kettle of ball game that we won't get into now. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Done a very rubbish job of wrapping this up this week, but we'll do our best. We'll try harder next time, honest. Dear viewers from around the world, thank you very much. I see you are all around the world. Thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions, if you've got any complaints, send them to Bruce. If you've got anything nice to say, send them to Louis and I. And we hope to see you again at 2100 GMT next week, where we'll try and do it all again. And we definitely want to both our guests, both Shane and Justin, back on again in the future, because very interesting things you're doing there, guys. So thanks very much for joining us. Dear viewers, have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you all again soon. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Thank you.